Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Reed's Tip. I am your host, Isaiah Ruiz, and today we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I know it's been a while since I put out a video, so I apologize about that. We're also going to be trying I put my shotgun microphone on. I wanted to see how that's going to sound and different from the usual wireless microphones that I usually use. So we're going to test this out today. Hopefully it works well or works just well enough. Just to see, like I said, trying to see if it works easier for me or whatever the case may be. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to talk about college football, of course. We're going to talk about a little bit about the NFL. I got my Oklahoma shirt ready, so let's get right into it. First and foremost, what we're going to talk about, obviously, speaking of Oklahoma, it was very unfortunate news that as of tomorrow, the John Mateer of the Oklahoma Sooners is going to have surgery on his hand. My immediate take is I think he's going to go. He's going to get this surgery, and he will be back a lot earlier than people think. I know it's saying that he's indefinitely out, but I actually think he's going to be out for a few weeks at most. Hopefully that's what it is. I'm trying to manifest that, which is also why I'm saying it. But I don't think that he goes and gets this surgery and ruins this opportunity for Oklahoma if they didn't think, or he didn't think, that he couldn't come back very early on in order to finish the season. From what I understand, he hurt his hand on the beginning of the fourth quarter. In the first quarter, played with it throughout the rest of the day. Obviously, he played very well the rest of the game against Auburn and their win. And we're gonna get into that more, but against Auburn. So I think that they're getting the surgery done just so that way there's nothing worse that happens down the line. I think I think he's gonna miss a lot less time than people think he's gonna miss, and I think that overall, if that is the case, and he comes back 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whatever the case may be. Mind you, there's Kent State and then there's a bye, or there's a bye and then Kent State. But regardless, and within these next 3 weeks, there's also going to be a bye week. So that's also why I think that he's doing it right now instead of waiting till later, because it could be a situation where if he was to wait till a later date, it could be possible where it gets even worse, and then he ends up having to miss the entirety of the remainder of the season, whenever that would be, if that was to happen, or even probably the postseason if they were to go and make the college football playoffs. So that's my immediate thoughts and reaction. I don't think he's going to miss a whole lot of time, but I think it was important for him to get it done now, and it was important for Oklahoma to get it done now, then wait till later. I think he'll be back for sure before the season ends. I think Michael Hawkins Jr. is going to do a really good job to take in place. He's an electrifying player. I think he's one of the better backups. I was going to say he's a great player, but I think he's one of the better backups in college football, and I think he's going to prove that. He's very much like John Mateer in the sense of he could extend plays, he could run, he's very, very fast. We saw him on the offense last year when he went in for Jackson Arnold. I think he's going to be just fine. I think this offense is going to run pretty much the same because he has so much of similar traits to John Mateer. John Mateer, though, is just John Mateer. Now, what I will say is I think with John Mateer being out, probably going to miss 2 games, maybe 3. Hopefully that's it, nothing more than that. But I think it's safe to say as right now his Heisman candidacy is really, dare I say, gone, or it could be gone, or pretty much over. But as long as he comes back, like I said, and Michael Hawkins Jr. takes care of business against Kent State, which he could very much do with this Oklahoma team. You go into the bye week, and then you go and you got Texas. Hopefully Mateer is back by then. Again, we'll see. But I think Oklahoma's offense is going to be okay against Kent State. They have the bye week also. Now, getting into the rest of the game against Auburn, I thought that game was deserving of the whole defense and the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma, which is Brent Venables, also the head coach. But the whole entire defense, I mean, talk about your first opening game against the SEC, against an SEC opponent in Auburn. 10 sacks. I mean, that was just an electrifying game. Offensively, John Mateer did what he had to do, which was run the ball, score touchdowns, throw the ball, score touchdowns. You had some key plays by some of the wide receivers and the running backs. While I do think they're not as bad as people may think, obviously John Mateer, when he has the ball in his arms, running the football, he's the biggest threat on the ground for the Oklahoma offense. But I thought Oklahoma defensively, I'm going to give myself a round of applause. I said before the season started, the defensive line for Oklahoma is going to be the best defensive line in all of the SEC. I think I was wrong now. I think they have overall the best defense in the SEC, and I think they helped prove it This past week against Auburn, I think they're going to prove it for sure against Kent State. They have to handle business, but they proved that they can take every opponent seriously when they went up to Philadelphia and they beat Temple a few weeks ago. Then they're going to have the bye week, like I mentioned. And, or again, they could have the bye week. I can't 100% remember at the top of my head, but I do know they have the bye week coming up. And then I think they're really going to prove it, and they're going to be very downhill against Texas. That's going to be a great game, especially if it's, if it was John Mateer still playing in the game, I would have said I'm very, very comfortable picking Oklahoma winning that game with the way their defense is playing, with the way the offense is so explosive with John Mateer as the quarterback. I still think they're going to be explosive offense with Michael Hawkins Jr. It's just going to be interesting to see how much of a dip there's going to be from the quarterback position from Mateer to Michael Hawkins Jr. But Michael Hawkins Jr., like I said, he could run. He's a very fast, explosive quarterback. He can get the ball into the receivers, some of the receivers that they have on this offense. They got pretty good wide receivers. He's going to have to rely on some of their best ones. And the ground game is going to need to step it up over these next few to possibly several weeks as well. So, but getting back to the Auburn game, defensively, they played amazing. I know there was a lot of questionable calls in the Oklahoma game. I totally get it. There were some of them where even I was like, man, we got lucky there. But there was some also where I just felt like, people from the Auburn sideline or Auburn fans were probably just crying a little too much. But I thought the Auburn game was an amazing game. How about our Mason Thomas having to be suspended for the full first half of the game over some BS helmet-to-helmet call in the last game? He comes in, he gets 2 sacks. One, just incredible sack where he just jumps on Jackson Arnold's back and gets a pretty explosive sack to get the crowd riled up. And then, of course, the one to basically seal the game, 22-17. He goes and he gets the safety sack on Jackson Arnold again, sealing the game pretty much. We get up 24-17. They kick the ball back to us, and that's pretty much all she wrote. But overall, just the rest of the defensive line, what an incredible performance from Oklahoma's defense and Oklahoma's defensive line, their linebackers, some of their DBs. I know there's a lot of people talking about different people that need to step up on the offensive side of the ball besides Mateer to help win games. How about the defense stepping up and doing their part and really putting points on the board, whether it be the safety or going out and getting 10 sacks in the game? I think overall it was a great game, but I think the defense definitely deserved the game ball for sure for Oklahoma. They played amazing. They were awesome, and it was a really entertaining game to watch for SEC fans, Auburn fans, especially Oklahoma fans like myself, Oklahoma Sooners. And just an incredible game. I was wondering how our defense is going to be able to keep up against an SEC opponent like Auburn. You have why can't I think of the receiver right now? I'm totally blanking out, but they're obviously their sophomore receiver who had an amazing year last year as a true freshman. They did a pretty good job of trying to minimize his production, which I feel like they kind of did. But overall, the front seven of Oklahoma is legit, and they're going to go out regardless who they're playing, regardless who's at quarterback. They're going to go out and they're going to dominate the front seven of whoever their opponents are, and I think they showed that against Auburn. Now, one of the other games I wanted to talk about, we're not going to be able to get through every single college game, so I apologize about that. But one thing I did want to talk about was the Clemson Tigers. Dabo Swinney, I'm not a fan of Dabo Swinney. He's rubbed me the wrong way. He pisses me off. He went in, he had that whole rant about, well, if they fire me, you're firing. Basically trying to pat himself on the back and comparing his team this year to 2016's team. It's not the same teams. Dabo Swinney, to be quite honest with you, is a little bit of a punk. I just didn't like that he did that. I thought it was corny. I thought it was stupid. Like, you're obviously a bad team this year. And one of the things that about Dabo Swinney that I don't like, he talked a lot of shit about people that are going into the transfer portal. He talks a lot of shit about, going and getting guys in the transfer portal. He doesn't like paying players. He doesn't like getting guys he wants all of his players to be brought in. Like, if this was, before NIL and build them through the system. And it's just backfiring on him, and deservingly so. Deservingly so. He's 1-3. It's the worst start I think he's had in a very long time. One of the worst starts for Clemson in a long time. And I'll admit, obviously I picked them to play in the national title game against Ohio State. So I am eating my words just as much. The one time I do root for Clemson in hopes of making it and proving me right. They could not prove me any more wrong. Cade Klubnik not going to be in the Heisman contention. And I think this is I think after everything that Dabo Swinney has said about college football and talking about when they start paying players, that's when I'm going to leave. Well, you can go now, buddy. You can go now. Go coach high school football where players don't get paid, or at least probably not where he's from. Who knows? You can go coach somewhere else. Go coach in the NFL. I don't know, but clearly it's backfired. And when you're so arrogant, see, a lot of people thought that Nick Saban was arrogant. I don't think Nick Saban was an arrogant coach. I think he just had a high standard for his team. He didn't tolerate a lot of stupid questions from the media, and he wasn't going to be repeating himself all the time. But I don't think he was ever. I don't think you're ever going to hear Nick Saban say, "Oh, well, the guys on the transfer portal, they're not even good enough to come play for us. So why would we want them?" Or yeah, as soon as they start playing players, I'm gonna. Nick Saban never said that. He did. I mean, but to his credit, he saw how it was in the new NIL era, played a couple, 2-3 years with it, and then he ended up retiring, but he's still retiring the GOAT. He's still retiring as the greatest college football coach of all time, period, point blank, end of story. Dabo Swinney, we'll see what he does. He's probably going to get fired to continue to lose games this year, or maybe he might leave. I don't know, but I just think that Clemson, that they're just all down bad right now in the worst of ways possible. A dumpster fire. They don't have the team that everybody thought, including myself, thought they were going to be. They don't have the personnel. Obviously, coaching, they're not doing a really very good job at coaching. It is just all turmoil for the Clemson Tigers right now. But I think a lot of it is really karma working its way back to Dabo Swinney with all of the bullshit that he has said, with everything that he has believed about transfer portals and paying players. Look, buddy, either you adapt to the new system of what is college football, or you leave. The key to survivability is not how big you are, how strong you are, how fast you are. The key to survivability is adaptability. And he has refused to adapt to this new style of the new world of college football that we're in. And it's biting him in the ass, and it could not make me any more happier than I am now, despite the fact that I did pick them to go to the national championship game. They're not going to go this year. They're not going to the playoffs. They're not going to go. Klubnik is not going to win the Heisman. Dabo Swinney this is exactly what happens when you think that you know more than everybody else, and you think you're better than everybody else, and you're arrogant enough to if you're going to be arrogant enough to say that you're better than everybody else, you think you know better than everybody else, and blah, 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 you better go and back it up. The very least, you got to go and back it up. And he clearly did not back it up. Now, I do want to move on to now. It's going to be hopefully relatively another quick video. Trying to get, obviously, first video back in like a week and a half. So again, apologize about that. But we're going to move on now to the NFL, the main game that I wanted to talk about. And there was a lot of great games. You had the Rams, you had the Rams, Eagles, the Bucks versus the Jets. I mean, so many games that ended in block kicks, return for touchdowns. I mean, footballed this past Sunday, and it was an amazing thing to watch. But one of the games that I really wanted to talk about was last night's game. The Baltimore Ravens versus the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions went into Baltimore 1-1. The Baltimore Ravens were 1-1. Both teams really needing this. Both teams very good. Perennial playoff teams right here. And Detroit went into M&T Bank Stadium and absolutely beat up the Baltimore Ravens. I can't believe I'm even saying that. I'm a Steeler fan, diehard, lifelong Steeler fan. And I've never known the Baltimore Ravens to be getting beat up, to be getting ran through, to be getting pushed around, hit, driven into the ground, sacked I don't know how many times, especially with Lamar at quarterback. We'll get into that right now, but it was quite the thing to see it. And the reason why I also watched this game was because I have Amon-Ra, the Ravens defense, and Lamar on my fantasy team, so I was definitely paying attention to everything. But I can't say I'm shocked because I know Detroit. That's the way they like to win games. They like to win games tough. They like to win games on the ground. They like to push people around as much as possible. They like to run the ball a lot and really beat people up in the trenches. And that's pretty much what they did. Montgomery and Gibbs combined for over 200 yards on the ground. You had some clutch passes that were caught by Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially the last one that basically sealed it for them. Dan Campbell gambling on fourth down, picking up fourth down conversions. That's how they pretty much ended the game. But the Baltimore Ravens, my lord, Derrick Henry is averaging a fumble per game to start this season. It's something that I've never seen before. Now, credit to him. He's 31? He's in his 30s, but he's still playing phenomenally despite the fumbles. He's running the ball well. He's getting into the end zone. He's not slowing down, and he's becoming more and more of a bruiser with each year that passes by. But the fumbles are absolutely insane. I would be livid if I was a Baltimore Ravens fan and I've seen my superstar running back going and fumbling in the most crucial times, by the way. I think he fumbled last night. He fumbled when somewhat early in the fourth quarter, and I mean I believe they were only up, but they were only down by a little bit. The margin wasn't spread out yet, but it was a horrible and costly timing for Derrick Henry to fumble the ball. But that's what had happened. Meanwhile, you have Lamar Jackson on that fourth down conversion that they were trying to do, also fumbled the ball. Jack Campbell, linebacker for the Detroit Lions, did a great job of pursuing him and knocking the ball out of his hands. That was almost turnover. That was almost picked up by Detroit, by the way, if you remember watching the game, but Lamar was able to land on it, but it didn't matter. So overall, I thought it was a great effort on defense from the Detroit Lions as well. Got to give them credit where credit is due. Aiden Hutchinson he was the one that caused that forced fumble on Derrick Henry, but he's always making his presence known in the backfield, whether it be quarterbacks, running backs, whatever the case may be. But the Baltimore Ravens should be a little paranoid. I'm not going to say super paranoid, but a little paranoid. They're going to need that win against the Kansas City Chiefs next week, or they're going to fall down to 1-3, staring down the barrel of a really, really bad season. By the way, I can't even believe that. And again, it's only 3 weeks, but the fact that my Steelers are tied for first place right now with the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe. Yes, just Cincinnati Bengals for first place in the AFC North. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised because we always somehow end up winning 9 or 10 games and does nothing for us or whatever. But no, the Baltimore Ravens need to get that win against the Kansas City Chiefs next week. Ironically, the Chiefs also need the win as well because they have not looked very good at all to start the season. I'm not going to go as far as saying that their dynasty is over because until Patrick Mahomes gets beaten in the playoffs consistently, then I think that's when we can start saying that the dynasty is over. They don't look very good so far to start off the season, and I have my own beliefs about that. I feel like part of the reason why the Chiefs aren't looking as good, or they've really started to decline in play, despite winning the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I think once the whole Taylor Swift, and I'm not blaming Taylor Swift. It has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. I think when Travis got with her, even though I just said it's not about her, I think when Travis got with her, all of a sudden the regular entertainment media, news media, everybody wanted to make a spectacle of Travis Kelce now and Patrick Mahomes, and I think for them, as from what I've seen so far, again, they can go out and win the Super Bowl and prove me wrong and everybody else wrong. But it seems like they've become, without them really knowing it, they become more and more of the celebrity lifestyle, wanting the celebrity lifestyle instead of just sticking with football. Because when they were winning Super Bowls and they were going back to back, it was all football. The chemistry was still there. Chemistry was great. Yes, Travis Kelce was younger. Yes, Patrick Mahomes was barely entering the peak of his prime. But it seemed like it was all football. And the only time you talked about the Chiefs was in the sentence and the air of football and football only, winning championships. Now it's like you talk about the Chiefs, you think of Taylor Swift, you think Kelce, you think Mahomes and his wife, and how you think of a lot of different things. You think about the Kelce Brothers podcast. You think of a lot of different things now. And I feel like that has a lot to do with the fame and everything that they've gotten because of Travis being with Kelce. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to need to get that win against Baltimore. Baltimore needs that win. So I think it'll be a very good fight to the finish with that game. I believe they're going to Arrowhead. I could be wrong, but I believe they're going to be in Arrowhead. But nonetheless, I think that's going to be a really good game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Can't wait for that one. But man, Detroit Lions. And by the way, one thing I didn't know is that they actually was scoring 38 points last night. They have now officially scored the most points, I think, in 3 weeks since Bobby Night Train Lane. And for those who don't know, that we're talking we're going back 60 years. So, Ben Johnson's obviously out. He's the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Now you bring in a new offensive coordinator, and they have been forget about not missing a stat. They seem to be doing even better, ironically. Do I expect them to keep scoring over 30 points every single game? No, but if they do, I mean, that's up there with the 2007 Patriots and some of the other great offenses in NFL history. But the Detroit Lions look like after that first week, that first loss in week 1 to the Green Bay Packers, they look like they're going to be just fine. They're going to continue doing what they've been doing, making it to the playoffs, making deep runs. And maybe this year they go out and they would go and make it back to the NFC Championship game and actually win it and go and play in the Super Bowl. Who knows? But they look really good right now. Everybody seems to be in sync. Amon-Ra's doing his thing. Jared Goff is doing his thing. They got the best backfield in all of the NFL with Montgomery and Gibbs. So they look like they're ready to go. And they obviously have Aiden Hutchinson back. So look out for the Detroit Lions. Baltimore Ravens, they need a win though. Like I said, Kansas City Chiefs also need a win. But that's going to do it for this episode. Again, we just wanted to get back into this episode lightly. Keep it to 3 different subjects. We talked about a few different things. And I'll be able to, we're going to do another episode tomorrow, talk about some other stuff as well. But for now, this is the Reed Step. I am your host, Isaiah Reeds. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to be making more shorts and things like that. I'm looking to get into TikTok and posting on Instagram. Wherever you social media, we're going to be doing that there as well. But for now, leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe if you haven't. And we'll catch you guys on the next show. Peace out.